Welcome to the tokenmarket.net podcast. I am your host, Gavin Knight. Thank you for tuning in. Check out our site for digital asset research, a calendar of upcoming events, and many future upcoming releases. Our podcast features team members of projects in the cryptocurrency space to help shed light on their developments. Just because a project is on our podcast doesn't mean we recommend investment, so always research and engage wisely.
I'm with CEO and co-founder of MetalPay, Marshall Hayner. You can find more information about this product at metalpay.com. So why don't you intro us to the basics of Metal, how it works, and how is it different from other products that are out there?
Thanks for having me on the show, Gavin. Metal is a kind of a window into app coins. We like to call it Venmo on the blockchain. Essentially what we are is a multi-signature, multi-currency wallet that works with traditional payments and also the payments of the future, cryptocurrency payments. So we do bank payments as well as credit and debit, and we blend it in a seamless way where you can invoice for credit or debit or a bank payment, and you can end up with crypto on the other side, or you can end up with USD inside your Metal bank account on our app. And every transaction that happens in crypto, you own the coin. So we're non-custodial, and we allow you to basically be your own bank, and we think that's really cool.
So how did you and your team get started in cryptocurrency, and what kind of experience or talents does the team have?
Yeah, so I've been watching crypto for a long time. First time I heard about it was in 2009 on what.cd forum. People were talking about it as a way to maybe monetize payments for like a decentralized file sharing service, sort of like before Spotify's time, and followed it for years. Thought it was really interesting. And around 2012, I started thinking, okay, this is something that I really want to work on. Had always been interested and involved in tech, but never had done it full time. And 2013, I created my first Bitcoin app. It was called QuickCoin. The whole idea was that Bitcoin is just insanely complicated for the regular person. It's too much. So if we're going to get people to use it, we need to make easy user interfaces, easy wallets. And so we were the first Facebook integrated Bitcoin wallet. That was 2013. Worked on that from 2013 to 2014, and then just started working all over the place, different areas of blockchain. Got involved with the Dogecoin projects. Worked at a company called Stellar, which was another alt currency, having a lot of experience doing the user adoption thing with crypto. So fun, exciting projects where people were kind of incentivized to be brought in into crypto, into blockchain in a friendly way. And that's kind of my background. Worked on that for several years. I guess the part that I'm leaving out of this story is I also was involved in a legal cannabis dispensary here in California, in San Francisco. Always interested in the cannabis industry and really firmly believe in the usage of the plant medicinally, but also recreationally. And I think that it's really interesting because it's an industry that is about to explode. A few people realize that cannabis is going legal in the majority of the United States, and probably within the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see federal legalization, I do believe. And I think it's a really big industry, and it's actually helping a lot of people in many ways, bring jobs, but also, the medicinal usage, like I mentioned. And I think it's a great thing. So it's interesting to see an emerging industry like this that's shut out of the banking and payments sector have an opportunity to use blockchain technology to kind of step into the future. And the interesting part about that is it's not just cannabis, but all kinds of high-risk payments. In general, businesses want to run on cash, but just don't have the format to do that kind of digital cash transaction.
Why is Metal better for these use cases? Is it possible that you're using this non-custodial multi-signature system so people can make peer-to-peer transactions, and you really need to know about the nature? But it sounds like you do have on-ramps and off-ramps to fiat. So would a dispensary that's having difficulty storing money or getting a place like a bank be able to use this in a way to improve their operation?
Yeah, I think so. it's interesting to note that we are some blockchain companies go in different ways. Some of them want to work exclusively with the banks and financial institutions. Others want to be completely decentralized and removed from any sort of regulation. We the aim of our company is to work with regulators and to work with people shaping policy. We are fully anti-money laundering, know your customer, FinCEN compliant. So there are rules to our system, but the interesting part is that on the crypto part, you hold the keys, so you own that money. We do all of this the same stuff that a lot of the financial services are doing, in terms of watching for money laundering and that kind of thing. But we put that in the background and create a really great user experience, something that high risk businesses really do appreciate because they can eventually get bank accounts, and eventually cannabis, for example, as it goes more mainstream, banks and financial services will open up to these businesses, but they're not going to open up when there's not really a good system of accounting. There's no way to audit the trail of funds. When a cannabis company has been operating for years and cannabis goes federally legal and the bank turns online and allows that business to come in and start banking with them, there's usually rules. And they're most likely not going to allow them to come in with large amounts of paper cash and start depositing because they can't necessarily trace those transactions. And then going up a level, this just gives a ton of transparency for businesses to be able to merchant processors to be able to kind of watch their merchants, know where the money is coming from. Blockchain is the ultimate immutable trail, so to speak. And so if you can embed identity and you can embed extra transactional data, that's really powerful, and that's something that we're doing. So it's really not just high risk. It has a lot of applications, but high risk, I guess, would be the area that's where it's needed the most right now.
So one of the biggest issues that a lot of merchants have is having a stable currency. I know people of Bitcoin, but I've also known people that have a small business and someone pays $10, they need $10. It's possible they could speculate, but at the end of all of this, they'll need to pay those bills. So how are you approaching a stable currency? And is it possible to safely and securely hold dollars on the platform?
Yeah, so at Metal, we are blockchain agnostic, which means we believe in Bitcoin, we believe in Ethereum. We think a lot of the cryptos have a lot of value, but we don't favor one over the other or use one crypto specifically instead of the other ones. And so we see that there's a lot of value in different chains, right? So Bitcoin has, the mass adoption, which is what we want. Ethereum has the ability to do smart contracts through Solidity and issue subcoins and all kinds of interesting properties. Tether, which is kind of our default currency in the app, is a USD coin, which is a fiat-backed cryptocurrency that's one-to-one with the US dollar. So having had this experience, 2015, working on a digital payments company called Serica that went through Y Combinator, we pivoted that company into from a Bitcoin exchange to a kind of a PayPal of Bitcoin. But what we heard a big complaint that we heard was that, not every merchant wanted to be exposed to that volatility or even necessarily understood that volatility. And so that's where it gets kind of interesting because, it's kind of a user experience thing. How do we put people on the blockchain and give them this seamless experience, empower them with the tools of basically having digital cash, but hide away that aspect that's really difficult to deal with, the key management, all the stuff that people are worried about when it comes to dealing with cryptocurrency, security, and that kind of thing. How do we make a good experience? So we took a lot of the experience from working in Serica and put that into the product at Metal. We actually applied to an incubator in Oakland called Gateway, which is the first cannabis technology incubator. And that was really where we got our start. And the founders there, it was just an amazing experience because we were really kind of narrowly focused on this niche industry where there's a huge payments problem. And we just realized, we can do this. We can make it work for businesses. We've done it before, but let's just do it in a better way where we can really, really track the customers so they have that compliance for the businesses when banks do come online and that kind of thing. and also incentivize a future financial system in where you skip over interchange rails, you skip over any sort of associated banking fees. That's really cool, and that's kind of the power of crypto. But most people don't get exposed to it because the costs of getting involved are too high to learn, to pay fees, all that stuff. So that's, I guess, probably going to lead into the next question in this interview.
Well, it always does until the end. But I did want to say, people, talking about the marijuana or medicinal cannabis industry, it has actually gotten interest from people that aren't people that partake. So there's a lot of large investors, and there's actually been 2 companies now that have been over $1 billion. But I think it's smart that you're not just focusing on that, because it's still a very niche specific thing. So I do think that it's good that you're broadening your reach, and this can apply to that, but it can apply to a lot more, and it can actually just apply to average users who want an app and an easy way to invoice and pay things. So, but my question was going to be the metal token. What's the purpose? What's the value? And how do people use it on the platform?
Yeah, so while we were building the platform, we realized, by U.S. law, we have to identify the customer. We have to know who the businesses are and who the individuals are, and that's a relatively painless process, when it comes to signing up. But we're accumulating this data, and we are creating real nodes on a network. And so, having worked on Stellar, which is a project that aims to create a financial web and get currency out there, one of the things we did was use Facebook OAuth to try and get users, and use the Facebook social graph to try and detect real people and give away currency based upon that. But that was really difficult. It became really hard. And so we started thinking about this and realized, hey, we're processing payments. If we can process a payment for fiat to crypto, which is a very hard thing to do, and we can successfully transact back and forth between those 2 mediums, then that person on the other side is real, because they're actually transacting with a card. It's not fraudulent. They have to have an ID to get it. They're being run through a system, multiple systems verifying their identity, and the payment is going through. So I came up with this idea called proof of process payment, and the idea is similar to, I guess, other distribution mechanisms, in that we aim to distribute currency to the people, cryptocurrency. But unlike proof of work, which was kind of an experiment in 2009 to say, okay, we can kind of alchemically transmute electricity that we burn at a certain rate per kilowatt hour with the fastest machines that we have, we can turn those into units of Bitcoin, right? And that's proof of work mining. And over time, what we've seen is that it gets centralized, and it goes down to the largest chip manufacturers that do, ASICs and specialized chips to do mining. And you get to kind of where we're at right now in the Bitcoin community, where you have Bitcoin Unlimited, Bitcoin Core, Bitcoin Infinity Patch. You have Purse's new proposal, which I think is awesome. It becomes this political argument over what are we going to do for scalability, and also basically the miners are the ones that control the price, that own all the currency. So it comes down to a really small group of hands that own the currency. Bitcoin could probably be worth a lot more if everyone in the world owned a little bit. But the case is that it's kind of still a small niche at over $20 billion market cap. So it could be much more valuable, but there's just not a great distribution mechanism. So we saw this opportunity to use proof of process payment to distribute the currency. We think it's a really powerful mechanism to get money out there, and it's an incentive for users and businesses to sign up. Because when you're receiving bank-to-bank payments and you're basically paying nothing per transaction to move from one bank to the next through automated clearinghouse, you're also earning metal currency, which is worth 5% or less of the gross value of the transaction. That's pretty awesome. It's a reward. I didn't have to learn all about crypto. I just signed up for an app that's similar to PayPal, similar to Stripe, and just started processing payments, and I was earning something. So we saw this opportunity, and we're launching this over the next month.
So will the metal token be redeemable, or can you use it for things on the app?
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things that we realized. Okay, we're building this payments platform. We have a system of know your customer and identity management where we're discovering who the customers are, and we're distributing coins based upon that. Now everybody has the coins. There should be some other incentive, for having them. Also for the early coin holders, why would they have it besides, having a stake in something that's finite or limited? A little over 66 million coins. We essentially see this opportunity to offer discounts on our platform. So we offer a 30% discount on payment processing fees, on our plugins, on our Shopify style platform, and we have different discounts also. Sometimes steeper than that at different times. But the idea is that you save money on any sort of the related fees that you would use for any of the metal services. So it's really cool because it incentivizes business owners to accept that currency, because then they're getting a discount on their processing.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, in Bitcoin and everything right now, there's speculators, and then there's, average, and then there's, pretty much hardcore users, what you might call, or super users. So those super users on your platform are going to be the people that are doing the most business or using it the most, and it will be cheaper to get metal, I assume, than to pay all of these fees, because I would say majority of those people don't have a huge need for it, but those ones that do, they actually do get like an economic value from that, which is probably the best way to shape a product, is that it's cheaper if you use it this way than that way. So that's really interesting. What do you do when it's 66 million coins and you can't give out any more?
That's it. We stop proof of process payment for metal token ends, and those that are holding it are holding it. It's on this platform. They can spend it between merchants. All the discounts still apply. I would assume that the value would rise because now you have this coin that's fairly distributed to a really large number of people. I'd love to have 1 billion users, but even if I only had a couple million, that would still be a lot more than we have Bitcoin members, right? Or people that are kind of using Bitcoin. It's hard to say, but I think that when you start giving away money, like what PayPal did, I think like 1998, sign up, get $20, raised venture capital to take $20 at a time and basically redistribute that to the users, and it worked very successfully to build the most to today what's the most popular payments platform. And we're taking that same model and kind of doing it in a different way, where we created our own blockchain. And instead of raising that money, we're basically creating wealth through a network of people, and giving them a way to trade.
Is it your own blockchain, or are you using Omni or Ethereum for this? Like, what way are you storing the tokens?
Yeah, so it's an Ethereum subcoin metal token, and we do also use Omni on our platforms. So we support our initial launch will support Bitcoin, Ethereum, Metal, Omni, and Tether, and we plan to add more currencies as we go. We've had an overwhelming amount of interest from a lot of the large coin development teams and foundations to add these coins, and I think that there's a lot of them out there that each one kind of has their own special purpose. Some are yet to be proven, a lot are yet to be proven, but we definitely see a lot of potential for some of these early app coins. Augur and First Blood are good examples. Also, the idea that we can put decentralized identity into the blockchain, that's something that we're going to be exploring as well and doing as well, to be able to give people more privacy with managing their data. So that's something that we see. Metal is kind of not only being a payments platform, but kind of a window into app coins. All these services that are out there, they're really cool and interesting, but we need that on-ramp and that off-ramp for people to get in and out.
Right. I think we're progressing, but as long as there's a physical world, there's going to have to be some kind of connection with non-decentralized technology.
Exactly.
Which is a funny thing to say, but I think sometimes when I read, it sounds like, oh, well, this decentralized world is all encompassing. It all fits together, and we don't need to interact with anything.
Yeah.
And that would be cool, in the future. But let's get back to Metal. So why don't you talk a little bit about your timeline, if you have expected times for when these things will launch, and about your team. What kind of experience do they have, and how do you plan to fully develop this project?
Yeah, so my team is a Bitcoin J core developer and Dogecoin developer. That was kind of how we met. And he's built some really amazing products, Glenn, our CTO, and he basically, when we started working together, I realized, okay, Glenn has the crypto experience that it's hard to find, and a lot of developers having years of that experience, also having the security background and that kind of thing. So an amazing team member to have, really a core asset to our team. And we also have two people we brought on from Visa. Oscar Munoz, our chief compliance officer, did risk for Latin America at Visa. And Andy Goldstein, he also managed a couple different programs at Visa, as well as worked at First Data and BitPay. He's our COO, and just an amazing group of people that we have. We also have Madison Hayner, my wife, who does all of our design and creative, and has built really good branding for us, I think. And we're about to bring on some more people. We also have Daniel Kari, former CoinDesk, that does media marketing and content for us. A couple more developers coming on soon, and some announcements. We have some really amazing advisors. We have Jackson Palmer, the creator of Dogecoin, Juan Llanos. A lot of people know him in this space for his work with anti-money laundering. We also have a few other people. I don't know if we can announce everyone just yet.
Well, that's fine. Yeah. Users, you can visit the website, and I see you have a few things to add, but fill out that, yes. and you can definitely visit the website for more information. So that was CEO and co-founder Marshall Hayner from Metal. Thank you so much for joining, and wish you guys the best of luck. If any of the listeners are interested in finding out how to participate now, you can email andy@metalpay.co, and for any questions about the company, you can email marshall@metalpay.co.